So the Oklahoma Sooners are coming off of not only back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes, but also back-to-back classes where they ranked inside the top 10 in transfer portal acquisitions. But even through all of that, the Oklahoma faithful have turned their attention to the class of 2024 and are curious as to what results this class will field. Today, we need to start breaking it down because the Oklahoma Sooners are starting to heat up on the recruiting trail, and we've got to talk about it. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe that the Oklahoma Sooners could crack into the top 5 recruiting classes during the class of 2024? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below, as those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. And we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. I would love nothing more than to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And today, like I said in the intro, we need to talk about the Oklahoma Sooners as they look to be heating up on the recruiting trail. And there are several big-time prospects that Oklahoma fans already have their attention set towards. Whether we're talking about some of the 5-star defensive linemen such as Nigel Smith and David Stone, or the individual we're going to be talking about today, a 4-star blue-chip wide receiver, Bryant Wesco, who just received a crystal ball in Oklahoma's favor per 24/7 Sports Oklahoma insider Parker Thune. And today, we need to break this down because Bryant Wesco is a very gifted athlete, standing 6'2", 185 pounds out of Midlothian, Texas. And this is where this conversation, in my opinion, gets really intriguing. Because whenever we're talking about Wesco, we also have got to talk about Emmett Jones, the new Oklahoma wide receiver coach. And I think that was a phenomenal hire by the Oklahoma Sooners, and we're going to unpack exactly why. But first and foremost, we need to turn our attention back to Wesco, because at 6'2" and 185 pounds, this dude right here can do it all. When you turn on the film, he's winning jump balls, he's winning off of routes, he's winning off of release. This is a very talented individual, and Oklahoma would be very happy to get him into this recruiting class. Furthermore, this kid is also a standout in track, so he's not just a star football player, he is an incredibly gifted athlete, someone that every institution in the nation would be lucky to get into their recruiting class. But the reason we need to turn our attention to Emmett Jones is because Emmett Jones has such a familiarity not only with the DFW area but the state of Texas. Whenever we really start looking into who Emmett Jones is, he was a high school coach in DFW at South Oak Cliff for a number of years. He's coached in the DFW area at several different high schools, and on top of that was at Texas Tech for a long time before going to an institution such as Kansas and then coming back. So whenever Oklahoma gets him, they know they need to keep strong recruiting ties in the state of Texas. Texas is always so loaded with talent. We talked about this the other day. There are just under 50 prospects ranked inside the top 300 in the nation per 24/7 Sports Composite located in the state of Texas. So it is loaded, and it makes complete sense where the Oklahoma Sooners, who are located just on top of the state of Texas, turn their attention to an Emmett Jones for the wide receiver coach, someone who's been so successful at Texas Tech, and not only as the wide receiver coach, but the passing game coordinator. Whenever you see what he did with Texas Tech, whenever you look at the recruiting ties he brings to the table, obviously you're very excited you get this hire in. And already he looks to be jump-starting this recruiting class, because if Oklahoma could get this win in for Bryant Wesco, what a way to start your career as the Oklahoma wide receiver coach than by getting in a blue-chip 4-star guy that pretty much well every institution in the nation wants. But what about Oklahoma recruiting outside of this? Because I talked about some defensive linemen, and this is something we have got to watch going forward. Because as well as Oklahoma has recruited under Brent Venables, and they have recruited so well, I know I talk about this all the time, but it absolutely needs to be said. How impressive is it what Brent Venables has done on the recruiting trail? We can talk about whatever happened last season for Oklahoma. I'm under the impression that Brent Venables needs time, because Venables came into a situation that was less than ideal whenever he arrived at Oklahoma, and he had never been a head coach before. And so when we look at all of those factors and then we look at the season they just had, I do believe it makes sense. However, whenever we look at the work he's been able to do on the recruiting trail, this is where I think Oklahoma fans need to be so excited about their future. Because even though he didn't have the year so many people wanted, I don't think that should diminish from the hope Oklahoma fans have and the excitement they have for what Brent Venables can do. And I think a great example of proof as to why you need to maintain that hope is look what you do on the recruiting trail. When Brent Venables first got there, we've talked at length about how that program was not in a good place. They were losing recruits left, right, and center because of the uncertainty, and still through it all, not only did Brent Venables steer you to a top 10 recruiting class, but a top 10 class in transfer portal acquisitions, which was unbelievably impressive. And then he backs it up during the class of 2023 while having a losing record, mind you, with a top recruiting class in the nation that top to bottom answers a lot of needs. They are recruiting at an elite level. And I've talked about this before. Whenever you're recruiting at an elite level, that typically means that the prospects are excited about your program. They see something in your program. And if the prospects see something in your program, well, the fans should also be excited. But this is going to be a big recruiting class for the Oklahoma Sooners, and it almost feels weird saying that to a team that is recruited as well as Oklahoma has under Brent Venables. But they have got a lot of guys that they look and hope they are in good positions for very early in the class of 2024. And hopefully those relationships can win out in the end. Guys such as a David Stone, guys such as a T.A. Cunningham. The interior of the defensive line is somewhere I'm really interested to see how Oklahoma cleans up in the class of 2024 because of how much talent is in this class. But I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.